Hi, welcome back to the A&S Way with me, Sel and Anne, and today's video is going to be about our journey to the USA. But you might be thinking,
we've already done this.
We have done this, and we've done lots of videos documenting our move, but we thought we would do a dedicated video
that consolidates all of the reasons why, how, when, why it was important, what we did to get there, some of the problems we run into.
Lots of problems.
And we thought we'd condense it down. It's mostly, I think, because we built up the channel from around 300 or 400 at the time to where we are now. Still not that high up, but we've gained a lot of followers along the way that ask us questions that we have definitely answered. But in order to catch them, you're probably going to have to watch 15 or 20 videos at 20 minutes each to get the answers. So we thought we'd condense it down into 2 videos. 2,
because we know what we're like, and it probably wouldn't be covered in one video. So we think this is going to be across 2 parts, really talking about why we decided in this first part and getting that initial visa to the actual move itself in part 2. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone that has subscribed and helping us get to the point of 1,000 subscribers. So super appreciative.
We're here 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks. 3 weeks
so.
ago, 1,000. And it seemed like such a long journey. So we do really appreciate everybody that has subscribed up to this point. It's still 60% non-subscribed. So for those of you that are watching frequently but are not subscribed, please make sure you do subscribe. And if you hit the thumbs up or the like button, it helps it get pushed out to other people.
But back to the video. So as Ant said, we've had lots of questions about what visa type, and I know across the videos, those that have been watching the channel probably know why, especially Anne, wanted the move here, but we thought we'd explain it right from the beginning. So, I would say personally for me, I always knew that I didn't want to just be in the UK forever. I love traveling, I always wanted the opportunity to work elsewhere. And I went to the US for the first time when I was 20, I think, with Anne for my birthday, I think. Was that the first time?
Yeah, and I remember because I just started a brand new job, and I think I was 2 weeks in, and I walked into the director's office and said, I found a really cheap trip to Florida, can I go? And he's like, when? I said, Monday, and I think it was a Thursday. And obviously it's a ridiculous thing for most people to walk in and immediately say you're going to Florida in a couple of days, but I found a great deal. It was your birthday coming up and I thought, let's go.
And the flights were £219
something
each.
like that.
And I always remember this because I think I still have like the Travelocity or whatever it was, travel whatever, tickets, and I think I was still at uni at that point. But I think for me, I saw this other place that is a very Western country like the UK. Some aspects are not as modern now as back then. It was, they speak English. It just seemed the things that you get in the US was bigger and better than what we had in the UK. There was sunshine. We went to Florida. I just loved it. And for me, I kind of knew, I'd definitely be willing to live in the US. For you, I think it was a bit different.
I require the sun. The sun is my mood.
Must have.
Yeah, it's an absolute must have. And I require more personal freedom, whether that's financial or just your being. And for me, the UK just doesn't provide that. You're forced into a system which tells you how, what, when, where, why, and how much you need to pay for it. So for me, it just doesn't sit with my morals and the way I see life. So for me, I had to get out at all costs, no matter where it was really. Obviously the US would have been choice number 1 for me, but with the way I go about life, it wouldn't have always been the option that was open to me, just because of how I view my career and what I do, and I'm not really that willing to sacrifice in the short term for that type of thing. So even if I had to move to somewhere like Thailand or Bali or one of the easier places to go, I was going to leave, which will come up later.
Yeah, and it's worth noting because we've had a lot of young subscribers messaging saying about what they can do education-wise, or they've just graduated. Even though we knew this, I did not pick my degree or my career path based on the knowledge that I knew that was going to get me to the USA. I just picked a subject, a field that I knew I was interested in. So very different to some of the advice I give to viewers. I say, if you know that's a goal of yours, try and think of the right fields that can get you to the USA. That was not the case for me. It just so happened I picked a field that I leveraged in order to get to the USA when the time was right, or came about. Even though we had it in the back of our minds. And when would you say you knew you wanted to leave the UK? How young?
14. The very moment I got off the plane. So we didn't go on holidays when we were young. I think we went to Butlins. People from the UK will know what Butlins is. And then our first holiday was to Florida. So I think it was the first time my dad had earned good money, and he found something back when they used to advertise in newspapers. Probably still do, but I don't read it. So he said he was taking us to Florida. So it was my first experience outside of the UK, I think. And literally the doors opened and I smelled the freedom. You could feel
Land
it. You could,
free.
you could smell it. So that was it for me. Sold, done. I couldn't remain in the UK for the rest of my life.
So I got through uni. I started working in the NHS. I then left the NHS and then worked for a couple of other companies. And with that, I wouldn't say the US was at the forefront of my mind at that point, in all honesty. I knew, obviously, Ant wanted to move. I'd thought about traveling elsewhere, but I hadn't really thought, okay, exactly, not like how we're telling you guys on this channel. It was only when I got to the last company, the current company that I'm in, that I really saw, there's an opportunity here to go to the USA. You can do my role from the USA. Lots of people were being transferred, and that's when I had, okay, this is my goal now. At some point, I can use the company that I'm with to transfer to the USA. And I think within the first 2 years, I was making contacts. I was seeing what roles were available. But it just didn't work out in the sense of timing and how well things were going for me. And that's where I think it took some time. And I think in the end, we've ended up better off. It's hard to say.
You never know.
You never know. But essentially for me, I'd built a career in the company, and my experience and different roles where I'd got into these managerial positions. And that takes time, and that's something we do try to stress when we're trying to give advice to others. It wasn't this, I want to go to the USA, and within a year I'd convince somebody and we'd got
it's great to have goals and objectives that are far out, but people seem to want them to happen immediately, and that's fine, it helps you drive, but then they're discouraged when it doesn't happen immediately. And you'll see from all of our series, whether it's us buying homes or accumulating money or coming here, it's taken a lot of time in all aspects. And you often just have to keep the goal in mind and just continue to work away at that.
Keep grinding.
A lot of people are on the channel asking, what are the steps? And as we've just kind of said there wasn't really any steps, and we constantly say this. There was a goal and objective, and we've just navigated our way through to that over time.
Yeah, and something that was very important to me is I'm quite a happy, positive person, and I don't like letting things drag me down. So for me, overall, I wanted to make sure that I was still enjoying life, that I had things, hobbies that I like to do, holidays, but also that I enjoyed work. That's really important to me, and I'm lucky that I do actually enjoy my job, and all the roles that I've had, I've enjoyed. Not quite the same for you, which is where I would say, whilst we both were similar in what we want to achieve, the way we felt in the UK during that period was different. Whereas I was fine because I was traveling lots, getting a lot back from my work. Whereas for you, I would say it was getting worse.
Yeah, a lot worse. So we've mentioned it before. Selena was saying how the UK is fine, it's okay. She genuinely probably spent 60% of her time outside. She was more out of the UK than in. So it's all well and good. It's like any visitor, we meet lots of people, I'd love to go to the UK, and we always encourage them. It's a fantastic place to visit, even if you're visiting for 3 months or a year. But it's not, for us, the best place to live. I was living there She was not.
He was there full time. I was there part time, if that.
Yeah. So I'm sure when you were coming back, seeing your family and friends, and then flying out,
yeah,
it's
you,
great.
My friends, it's just leisurely. I'm not really concentrating on the fact that I live in the UK, because I'm thinking about my next trip to Italy or Russia or India or the US. I was going to the US actually quite a lot.
Yeah.
So for me,
I was
all good.
looking forward to the next time it wasn't raining or grey, or I checked my payslip and most of the money was gone. Not most, but a lot of the money was gone. So for me, it was just this constant daily battle of not enjoying most of what the UK has to offer us. So it was a downer every day, really. And then if I had to drive into work, well, that was it. Because I knew what should be a 30-mile trip, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, could potentially be a 5-hour saga there, followed by some work, which I didn't want to do, followed by another 4-hour saga coming back, usually in the rain.
And boy, did he let me know.
Yeah.
He made sure I knew it, to the point that one day he called me up. So
middle of summer, we'd booked a trip to go away. In actual fact, very similar to one of the videos I put out while I was in the UK, we were due to be booked into the bike park, and it just got rained out. So this was, again, middle of summer, just like that video, and I'll put a link in somewhere. Myself and my brother, I think it was just us two, had planned to go to Wales. Firstly, there was a car on fire, then there was something else, then there was traffic. So this day was just falling apart from the beginning. We then got on the road and it ended up being, I think it was like a 7-hour journey that should have been 3 hours, which is pretty typical. And then it said it was raining in the middle of summer, and we're just trying to book 1 or 2 days in the middle of summer to enjoy ourselves, and most of the time you'll be punished for that in the UK. And I think we were 3-4 hours into our journey, and I just phoned you up and I was like, that's it, I'm done. We're selling the house. I'm done. I am done. I don't care what it is that we need to do. Either sell the house, let me take the money out, and I'm going to buy a ticket and I am going to fly out of here wherever will let me in that is sunny. I do not care anymore. That was it for me.
And I have to explain, people that know Ant know exactly what he's like when he says something, and I know Ant very well. For Ant to say something like that, he's not somebody that just says something and he doesn't really mean it. That's not Ant. When Ant says something, he truly means it at that moment. And boy, did I realise at that point that he meant that he would sell the house and leave. And bear in mind, we were actually doing a very similar journey, because I was
You had left before.
I'd left before, and I'd also got caught out, and I was trying to get to a customer meeting. And I'd left hours ahead. So I'd also been in this traffic trying to get to my meeting, but then also dealing with Ant on the phone. Essentially just almost like this meltdown.
Yeah, it was a complete meltdown.
I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
And I thought, in my mind, I thought, okay, let's be calm here. Let's talk about this rationally. And I said, I don't think it's right just selling the house, and just give it some time, give me some time, because I can sort something out. And if we get to the end of the year, so I said, give us 6 months. I think we were in August or whenever it was, and I said, let's just get to the end of the year. If nothing is sorted by the end of the year, we can do whatever you want. If you need a year, stop working, go travel. We can be completely flexible. Just don't do something now, because in his head, he literally said, I don't care. I'll just get on the ticket, get my ticket, get on that plane, and not care about the repercussions of anything at that point.
Yeah, I would have worked, well, my words were, I'll work it out. I work it out when I'm in that situation, which I absolutely would have. And whatever it was, whether I went to the States for 3 months, because that's how long we are allowed to stay there without a visa, or on the ESTA, and then I would have flown to Canada, and then I would have flown to Thailand, and I would have just worked out along the way. But that would have been more satisfying for my life than what was happening. And this isn't, we're just pointing out one instance of where this happened. This was frequently, you were getting calls from me, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, just sat there just going, this is my actual life.
Message, texts, and
just
saying how bad things were.
My everyday life was just a battle of traffic and poor weather. It's the opposite of what I want. As you can see now, I'm here super peaceful. It's the opposite. So what was I doing? Why was I just going through the motions. I'm one of these people that I tell lots of other people how, what, when, why to do things, and if it isn't working out for you, do something about it. And here I am, suffering the weather and the thing, and I didn't have to. I could have just sold the place, even if it only lasted 5 years, which it wouldn't, because you'd find a job. Why was I doing it? And there was that moment, I just broke. That was it. Done.
For me, it was quite concerning because, as we've mentioned in the other videos, it took us a long time. We did the best with what we had. We didn't really have these big handouts to go and buy our first house. We didn't have a handout.
I was going to say, we didn't have
a handout.
any.
And then to get from the flat to that house took a lot. It took a lot of work, a lot of savings. And then when that moment when Ant's saying, oh, we'll just sell the house and we'll just figure it out, I'm like, no, we've just got to this point where we're started to be financially more stable. I was doing quite well at work, and to just stop all of that. So I was trying to kind of do, I guess, damage limitation at this point.
Yeah.
And see what's the best way we can handle this going forwards. And just to explain, in the lead up to this, I was trying to see what roles I could get in the USA, and there was not a limitation. Okay, there was lots of roles I could have gone for. In reality, there wasn't an issue. If I needed a job in the USA, I could have got one. But what I was balancing personally was the fact that things were going very well for me here in the Europe, Middle East and India, Africa region, which I was managing at that point. And I was being promoted, and that was the bit that I was...
You didn't want to take a sidestep. You didn't want to ruin the momentum that you had just to get out and go somewhere
and then build up again. Because I knew of people in the USA, I do work with them, but I didn't feel like I had built that kind of network that I had in my region. So there was finding the right job at the right level, and it wasn't as if I wasn't reaching out to the right people. It was just finding that right role. And it just so happened that summer my manager couldn't go to a meeting. And it was literally that summer. So I think Ant had his meltdown earlier that month, and later that month I flew out to Palo Alto instead. So what would happen is it would either be my manager or me that would go to certain meetings, and I went instead of him. And then there was this project that was going on at work, and they needed people to support the project. And I thought, this could be interesting.
Yeah, and this is another life thing. So obviously you can't predict anything really in life. There's certain things that you can set up, but sometimes those don't even happen. And this just happened to be timing. And a lot of people call it fate or whatever, however you view it. But we had been on this path, and it was just about to fall apart, and then exactly the right time that happened. And then not only that, I remember, because this was a period where you were not sure, you were lacking a bit of confidence.
Yeah, I was. Honestly, I was.
Just
myself.
Mostly yourself, ability, and putting yourself skills, out there.
Yeah.
And I was full of all the confidence, mostly because I needed out. So I'm like, you will be going for this job. You can do it.
Because I remember I went to, there was an evening event where we'd gone to someone's house for a barbecue, and I spoke to the person that was leading this project, and I said I was interested, I wanted to learn more about what he needed out of that. And I said, look, I'd even be willing to move to the USA. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while anyway. And I remember going back to Ant saying before I approached the manager, should I? It's that weird thing that and I tell you guys all the time, just go out and network. But at that point, I wasn't sure. And Ant was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
So long story short there, I took the chance. I spoke to someone. I explained my skills. He was fully on board. And that led to me getting my role in the USA. Essentially, they made an offer for a contract. It took them a few months to make the final offer. I think we got that over Christmas when we was going to Thailand. I'd finalised that, but it just so happens at that same time another offer would come through as well from somebody else that I had reached out to months before. Also for the USA. It just goes to show things start to catch up in terms of reaching out to people.
It's the groundwork that you put in for anything, and this is the problem with whenever you're not gifted something or afforded something right off the bat. So if you're born rich, very different. A lot of the work that goes in before is unseen, even to you as you're doing it. but it does add up over time, whether it's months or years. And then 5 years down the line, all of that work that you put in does come to fruition. It just happened to be that everything that we'd put in, and me freaking out, you calming me down, and at that moment, everything seemed to come together.
And to add, it was an uncomfortable point for me, also reaching out to somebody that I didn't really know that well, going into a role that I didn't really feel that I was an expert in.
There are no experts. We have this conversation all the time. It always amazes me that there's such thing as experts. And now, of course, there is exceptions. There's the Elons and the Gates and those types. But there's so few experts at anything. And as you found out, you go into the team and you feel like from the outside, all of these people in these roles and they know everything. And then you go and you're like, they're all just like me.
Yeah.
We're all trying to work it out, especially when you're working on projects of change or change projects. The reason they're changing is because it's new. And unless you've got consultants that have done all of this stuff before multiple times, the reason you are in that is because you're all trying to work it out together. It's new, it's change.
Yeah, and you also have to be comfortable with taking risk and the being uncomfortable, the not knowing, and you learn over time that that's fine, that life happens and things won't always go perfectly. As we found out with our journey, it didn't go quite as smoothly as we thought in the end. But you do get there if you keep persevering. So there we have fear in terms of the journey to getting that initial job in the US. It wasn't quick by any means.
And it wasn't fun.
Fun.
Some of the journey's fun, but the point at which it came right after a bit where really everything could have went in a very different direction. Because if Selena, although I'm very, very, very pragmatic, as in I accept the situation, we deal with it, I'm also up and down with my emotions. So it means that I can be super impulsive, and impulsive in the sense of I'll sell everything and just do something different. Whereas Selena's a lot more measured. She's not necessarily as pragmatic as me, but is able to respond to those situations by elevating a little bit, but keeping it fairly calm. So in a different situation, that could have went not wrong, very differently. We would probably be either living separately or living in Thailand right now.
But it taught me something. At that point that Ant reacted and said it must happen, and we said, okay, we've set a deadline by the end of the year. It happened. We actually said, okay, we need to make the decision. I have to find a job in the USA by the end of the year, or we go somewhere else, and it happened. So it shows to me that if you really want something, you can put things into action. You just need to take risks, reach out.
And have put in the groundwork beforehand. Just jumping onto something and expecting it to work because you really want it is going to lead to massive failure. If you've been making great choices and decisions, which we've mentioned in many other videos, up until that point, you've already laid that groundwork. And it's just about building quickly.
Yeah, and
now.
I would really stress that. So I don't think that would have worked had I or Ant had been complacent throughout that whole period and
with
literally
money
done
or
nothing.
whatever,
we wouldn't have been in the position to be able to react so quickly within those 6 months after that mini meltdown that Ant had. But because of everything, we were able to. So what I would say for you guys, if you haven't laid that groundwork, start now. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
Actually, I think we're going to do a video on It's Never Too Late coming up soon. But don't just expect that you can make the decision today that you want to move to the USA and figure it out in the next 6 months that you've got that visa in hand. It doesn't always work quite like that.
Which actually leads us on to the next part.
So I had the job. I got the contract through with the relocation package. So there is a dedicated video where I outline all the details of my relocation package. Very typical amongst, there was nothing really different from others that I've seen from other people, to be honest.
There's some, obviously watch our video, that's great. We need the watch hours, but there's a lot of good information. So before, this is a difference. Selena is a great worker and great in business, but the moment there was an inkling that we were moving, I did all of the research over what packages people get. So I'd already been on the forums. I said, right, here's what you're going to tell your company you want. But in actual fact, because this was new to us, but most international companies already have that packaged up. So all of the things that I had seen online that people were getting, we had got. So there's obviously slight variations. Some things we got a little bit more, and some things you get a little bit less. But the overall package is quite standardized, would you say?
Yeah, very standard, like sorting out your shipping, having somebody to facilitate your overall move,
the
banks, temporary accommodation, car rental for when you arrive,
arranging the visa.
Obviously the visa is the key one. A lot of companies, obviously we didn't get to do this, but also allow you to go and visit the place before you make the final move.
Which we'll come on to.
But all those components are very standard in any relocation package.
And we should throw in that we actually found out, or you received the offer whilst we were taking a break because of my meltdown. We had gone to Thailand for 3 weeks, or just over 3 weeks, something like that. So we were actually in Thailand at the time that we found this out, which was great. So I had this amazing feeling. I was away,
New Year,
absolutely loving life. New Year's, my birthday, great weather, great food, good people. Then we get this news, and for me, when are we moving then? You can come out in March. I'm going, wow, it's January, so I've only got to make it 2 months.
So
I was over the moon.
We're in January. We had already discussed at that point with work that the move would happen around March, April time. They'd already got onto the attorneys. They'd explained to me that the visa type that I would be getting would be an L1A. Because I was already in a managerial position, that was the best visa type. It also meant that as a dependent for Ant, he could apply to work. We've mentioned this in some of our videos. Do check the visa type that they put you on, because depending on that determines whether your your husband or wife can work. So that was all done at that point. The attorneys were pretty quick. I think they got my paperwork to me within, I feel like we had it already February. Everything was pretty much sorted. So I had a long questionnaire to fill in, explain my role, the org chart. So with an L1A, the main thing is that you meet that requirement, that you are definitely in a managerial position with direct reports, that you have worked in the company for at least a year before in the last 3 years, so that they can do an intra-company transfer. There is a dedicated video on this. I'm not going to the specifics of an L1A. And then we started planning with our destination person where we were going in the Bay Area. So at this point, we were planning to go to California. In the South Bay Area, Milpitas, San Jose, Palo Alto region.
We still got the stickers on our boxes.
Yeah, we do actually.
Because it was addressed to land in California originally.
And I think in February we had the shipping companies come out to do the survey. So that was another thing that was part of the relocation. We actually had a separate company come out just to do an estimate to decide whether we wanted to do it privately or go through the company.
Yeah.
We'd picked our shipping company, I think, through the company.
We had sorted out renting our home out, so we'd already put the home up. We had accepted an offer from somebody. We had a move-in date for them.
Yeah, so we had actually done, by the time we had got to early March.
I'd quit my job.
Oh yeah, he'd already handed his notice in, of course.
Yeah. It was months out, even though I think I only had a month. The people that I worked with have always been really good, but the only time I've really enjoyed working over the past few years. So I let them know months out. As soon as I knew, I told them. So everything was set and ready to go.
So the important thing that we've missed here is to point out that this was early 2020. So you know what happened.
Yeah, so January 2020, February 2020, we had done all of this stuff.
And then so you can imagine where we're going with this, maybe, because this is where things start to go wrong. I'd got my pack from my attorney, and I had booked the appointment at the visa office in London. All good. Get to the visa office, they'd approved my visa. Great. That was one of the things I was really worried about, actually. There's this kind of I don't know.
Yeah, a bit of anxiety that you're not going to get it. Now, I work on the assumption it's always going to work out. So I was like, it's done. We're out of here.
Oh, he was done because he was already arranging Christmas. Who's coming up
I booked hotels for my brother to come out and visit us.
Canada.
Mountain biking Canada. I'd applied for my Canada visa so we could go riding. And so he was like, let's bring it back. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's level this out. We don't know how this is going to go.
So this is where him and my mum are very similar, because my mum's a bit like that. She will start planning, but I don't like to do that until I know something's for sure. not that I thought this was going to happen. So I'd got my visa, and there was extra documentation that they needed for Ant.
Yeah, so about 10 or 11 years prior, I have some driving convictions, standard driving convictions that lots of people get in the UK. Now, this doesn't present a problem anywhere, and if you read the ESTA rules, and they've changed this, I think, 3 times over the past 10 years, it specifically says on there what is acceptable and what is not acceptable on the ESTA. So I just made the assumption that the same thing would apply when you're applying for a visa, a proper visa. Not so. So we had, when you apply for this visa, it does ask you different questions to what's on an ESTA. So it'll ask you, have you ever been convicted of any crime ever? Have you ever been arrested? So there's no point lying on there. So we put down yes, and I got my police report, which has nothing on there because we have a Rehabilitation Act, so it's completely clear. So I went in with this, handed it over, and they're like, there's a specific word here that says at some point you did have a conviction on your record. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and then I remember, because you go to this window where you essentially speak to the embassy person, and he asks at that point, what is it? And then Ant said, it was a motoring offence.
Yeah.
And he said, based on that, it'll be fine.
Won't be a problem. You just need to, it's quite a process you have to go through. You have to make a couple of phone calls, and they'll actually send you what is not on your record but is on your record. Not a problem. They said send it over. It should be absolutely fine.
They give you an email address that you need to contact. So that was
took me half a day to get it done.
Oh, it was really quick. So that was, I think it was a Wednesday. So they'd accepted mine, and the guy said, look, it's going to be absolutely fine for Ant. Just email the stuff to this contact. So that was Wednesday afternoon. You went back and he'd done everything.
And then we got an email back saying, thanks for sending this over. And that was it.
And that was it. And that there was no kind of detail what was happening next. So that was Wednesday. And then
was it the following day?
So no, the following day I got a message saying that my visa's ready for pickup and that I had to go and collect it on the Monday. So that was done. So I knew my passport was back and was being delivered. So that was fine. Then it was Saturday on the news.
Oh, there you go.
And I think I was at my brother's house. I don't know where you were. And then there was the announcement of the travel ban.
Yeah, between, was it all Schengen countries, including the UK to the US? And that then also meant all visas in processing or application must also be stopped. So we missed out by literally a few days. Had we have done it 3 or 4 days earlier, we would have been fine because it would have gave the extra 1 or 2 days processing time for me. But now we're stuck. Visa, no visa. We had our, was it at that point we had our house packed up and everything?
No, we hadn't quite yet. So this is where we weren't sure what we was going to do. So at this point, bearing in mind, we had no idea how long this travel ban, and no one knew at that point what would happen for forever.
yeah. Obviously, in retrospect, we all know. At that point, we didn't. This is just some sort of let's give it a few days and work. Literally, because the news was everything's under control. We just got to take some measures. Really casual
limit travel
about everything. So we're kind of like, this is fine. No need to panic. Maybe next week they'll contact me.
And this is where it slowly starts to dawn on us that our journey to the USA might not be happening as quickly as we had hoped. And I think that's where we're going to pause for this video, because in the next part we'll cover really what we went through that year, the unknowing, being stuck, and I also stuck in the UK for another, what was it, 8 months, 9 months, I don't know, a year almost, and how we eventually got to the USA.
So if you've liked our story so far and you want to see more, make sure you thumbs up the video and subscribe so you get the notification. Actually, no, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get the notification for the next video.
And comment below, let us know what you thought of our journey. If you're new, let us know. We always love getting comments from new subscribers too. Thanks for watching.